Hello everybody and welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about my HB Racing D2 Evo two-wheel drive buggy. A few people are having trouble with the drivetrain binding up, and there are a few quick tips to keep it running smooth and free. So I'm going to get this camera turned around to a POV view and show you how I do it. Okay, so here we go. We'll try to get this drivetrain running nice and free. You can see mine seems to be turning really good. So first off, these screws on the top plate are 8mm screws. I found out for whatever reason I had one that seemed to be bottoming out, so I put these 1mm shims on there. So I'm just and always use Loctite on any of these screws that go aluminum or metal into aluminum, because they will tend to back out on you from vibration if you don't. So let's get this top cover off, and I'm going to show you just the few little tips that I can give you. Okay, so we get that off. Okay, the most important one I think is the plastic on the back of this centerpiece seems to rub on the gear. So it's not noticeable until you put the 2 dots down, raising the diff, which is the way I ended up running mine. And it's not noticeable until you put this top cover on and crank it down. I know it's probably not easy to see in the video, but right here on the back there's a lip, and it's usually, you can see I have cut mine, so the lip comes out just a little bit and rubs this gear, and you can't hardly tell until you put that cover on it. It's not noticeable. When you put the 2 dot on there, you might notice. So I take the X-Acto knife, come in here and trim it back almost to a point, and make sure there's plenty of clearance in here between the gear and the plastic. So just trim it off. It's probably a millimeter or two that you trim off. I don't know if you can tell, but the plastic was normally right across here. Take the X-Acto knife and trim it until it's got plenty of clearance, and make sure there's room all the way around. So that's the number one tip. That's what a lot of people are struggling with, because what happens is you'll go to it spins free now, and you'll go to put the top on, it starts binding. And if you got the 2 dots peeled, if you got the 1 dot peels, it's down lower and it's not really touching it. But if you put the 2 dot peels in it, it rubs pretty bad, and that'll get you messed up. So the next tip is, when you go to put this cover, this piece back on, the way this has got those 2 metal pieces is a really cool design. The problem is it can get in a bind really easy. So when you go to put it back in, there's 2 things I do. You loosen these shock tower screws, and again, these have Loctite on it too, because it's metal into metal. So if you'll notice, there's a little bit of movement, and it can tweak these little plates a little bit. So leave those loose, and it's not 100% necessary, but another thing I do is go ahead and loosen the bottom 6 bolts that hold this piece in. Different driver. And again, these are metal into metal. So put a tiny drop of blue Loctite on it, or whatever brand Loctite you choose. Okay, so the main goal is to get these metal pieces seated to these metal pieces correctly. So I'm not doing it for this video, but I'm gonna go ahead and put these in here without Loctite. Normally I would put the Loctite on here now. If you have the shock tower tightened down and it wasn't exactly in the right spot, it's gonna tweak it a little bit and kind of put those pieces in a bind, and the diff's gonna drag. So go ahead and tighten these. Don't go super tight. That's one thing too. I don't think you need to crank it down. Just if you got Loctite on it, it's gonna be good. So then I'll go ahead and tighten these bottom screws. So then you can come back in here and you can see drivetrain's still nice and free. I don't have a gear hooked up so I can do this. Then you come in here, and I use a 1.5 ball end, makes this a little easier. Go ahead and tighten these shock tower screws down. So now it's nice and free, no dragging whatsoever. Anyway, hope that helps. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it helps you get yours nice and free. And stay tuned. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and we'll see you next time.